All right. Hey, everybody. This is MixLife 47. So, 47 hour-long episodes that we have knocked out. Welcome to the earliest DIY show on Sunday and what we think's the best, but that's all relative. I'm joined by the guy you see on every DIY show, Concrete River. How are you,
I'm I'm
sir?
I'm like herpes, man. You can't get rid of me. I just show up everywhere.
You're spreading.
Yep. Nothing anybody can do about it either.
I ordered some of those shelves, like the ones you got in the back. Uh, I got two of them, and they're gonna go back here. I'm moving my mix station to El
Like
Dorado.
the wall mount ones.
Yeah, from Amazon. Is that where you got yours?
Yeah, they're super handy. I just ran out of wall space for them, so I'm stuck using racks with like the tiered shelving and stuff. If I had enough space for it, I totally just wall rack absolutely everything. You get to feel super fancy too because it's like you're looking through a library.
Yeah, and right now I've been using kind of I don't know what it was originally intended for, maybe like a CD case because it's real short shelves, but it's like a bookshelf open. Maybe you couldn't fit books on it. It's only like 5-inch shelves. So maybe like an old CD case thing. It's got 5 shelves, but they stack, and then you're like can't read any of it. And so I'm gonna be. That's why the paintings are moved and stuff. Is because I'm gonna be setting up a mix station there. So I look forward to that project. Get a little more organized. Let's see.
I
So
eventually
how
need to get some new shelves too.
you arguably you and Lorenzo probably have the two most organized looking areas.
Oh, it's such a mess right now. One of the reasons why I don't have a camera on today.
We get the audio only version, so
Yep.
you can just you guys can just picture.
I'm a complete slob, and everything is a mess right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What any public recipes you guys have been tinkering with? I know Jen, you're doing is it weekly or monthly? I think weekly. Yeah, the theme.
Yeah, well, this month we kind of abandoned theme and went as a weekly challenge all year to
Okay.
mix a recipe based on something that's inspirational.
I like that because that goes into kind of. I remember Wayne tried to talk about it one day, and he sounded like he was crazy, but he was talking about the art of mixing, or being more into the conceptual side of mixing. So I like that you're actually putting that into work, an actual practice of that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be something fun to do in the group, get everybody active and putting some recipes out.
Let's see. So any flavor testing going on, Concrete? You got any new things you're playing with? Any products come in that you've seen?
Well, I have been struggling with flavor testing for the last week. I have been amazingly congested and kind of shitty feeling. So I am sitting on a bunch of vape train and decadent vapor stuff that I really need to start digging into. So that's definitely my next two stops. So should be a lot of fun. I've been messing around with the vape train stuff a little bit, just trying to mix with it without testing it first, and there's some really solid stuff in there, so I'm excited to like dig into them single flavor.
It's interesting. The vape train guy, he's been around for a while, Theo, and it's probably about a year now that I've been hearing about it. But it's really nice that he's gotten the traction lately, where it's starting to get that same Flavora kind of buzz that they got last year. I know Bull City's going to carry it. They did a teaser image of all their brands, and then the new brand that wasn't there before is the vape train. So all you US folks can get used to that coming at some point. Kind of do some testing, mixing. We'll probably do a couple in-depth walkthroughs on all the different flavors. I know Christopher's done the most testing of the team, I think, so far. And then Concrete's been kind of cracking through them a bit. But hearing good things about them, people are saying good stuff. So a lot of potential there. I mean, new lines are always good because maybe you get that one or two, special flavor that you can't get anywhere else. And if you can find just that, it makes the line worthwhile to us as mixers.
I've still been working on trying to nail percentages and stuff with it, but if the only thing they did was finally make a rum flavor that's kind of boozy, I'd be completely happy. Their light rum so far is pretty phenomenal. So I'm completely on board with whatever else they want to do.
Yeah, so just that one alone, I mean, because you really have to piece together a rum nowadays with Jamaican rum and maybe butter rum. So,
yeah, I mean, Jamaican rum is an awesome concentrate. Don't get me wrong. Like, it tastes awesome, but it isn't really boozy. And like, for whatever they're doing, they've actually figured out how to make their concentrates taste kind of boozy, but not offensive. It's pretty interesting so far.
It'll be good. So we'll look forward to 100 flavor notes from you in the next week.
Oh, I don't work that fast, man.
I think Flavor's Sangria was probably the first real boozy flavor I've actually tasted. Like, everything else has an alcoholic note, but that was boozy. Like, that tasted very wine-like compared to the other ones I've had.
That one and prison wine, the mimosa. Both those.
Mimosa was boozy too. Yeah, that I'm interested if Vape Trains is just as equally boozy. That would be nice because it's a flavor I've never really explored. I'm not really a fan of the alcoholic ones that have that burny kind of alcohol note to it. And Jamaican rum's not really either.
Yeah,
it's not boozy or alcoholic.
It's really just kind of like the spices of a rum, where you get the...
There's a bit of a flavor note of rum, but it's kind of sweet, and it works more kind of a creamy, I don't know, almost a praline kind of flavor.
Yeah, I can see that. Word of the day's boozy. What up, Steam Room?
I'm cool with that, man. I don't drink it. I just want to vape it, so we're good.
Yeah, so for example, like gin, I hated gin in real life. Like, it was one of my avoid drinks. And when I was testing the flavor amongst gins, I really enjoyed vaping that. So even if you hate a certain liquor, that doesn't mean you're gonna hate vaping it. And it goes the other way too. Like, there's some things like chocolate. I tend to have a hard time enjoying chocolate vapes. Like, it's just kind of one of those things. And my girlfriend is kind of anti-creamy custard, so she loves the fruit vapes, but just isn't really feeling it. So with the creams and custards and stuff. So there's things you'll love in real life, and then vaping won't necessarily always bring that forward. The other thing that I've noticed is, when you're making recipes, things like that, actually thinking about how's this going to taste hot. And there's some things that taste great hot, like a cake, or maybe like a coffee if you can pull off a coffee. Tobacco tastes great hot.
Warm custards,
right? But then you end up with some things that just don't taste good hot, and that's something to think about when you guys are developing recipes. Is would this taste good warm?
That's where a little bit of WS-23 comes in.
Yep, and the coolants and things like that, whether it's Coolata or 23, or if you're doing mint combinations, things like that. But it's before you make the thing, almost think about it. Would it be good warm? Like if you made a beer flavor, for example, that would be, you're gonna get a hot warm beer, So probably not what you're looking for. But definitely consider, if you don't
want a vapor recycling place.
Yeah.
Because that always just smells like stale warm beer. Ew.
Yeah. Like recycle bin, 3 drops in the can, hot in the sun beer. not there yet, folks. There's more levels of love. Yeah, see, but if you're thinking about liquors, you know, I hated gin, but the gin vapes were really enjoyable. So consider that when you're, you know, I know tobaccos and liquors are kind of the ones, and then florals. Those are like the three that people are like, there's no way I'd like it. But then when you try them, or you dabble and sort of, you know, work your way over there, there's a lot of enjoyable notes that you can get that you may not think you like, but you might really like. So what about you, Jennifer? Do you have any public things besides the, oh yeah, you have a mixer comp against Harry Jerry.
Yeah, yep. I already gave Copel my recipe.
The Drunk Lord GG going up against Jarvis. It's gonna be a good time for all.
Yeah,
well, I went floral, so
she's playing to the judge.
Well, who else am I mixing for? You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's not a bad thing, man. That's just strategy right there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good though. That'll be fun. So I think next week we'll have that. We'll have a little mix off between Crazy Jerry and Jennifer Jarvis. So that'll be fun. And those are tough. Doing mixer competitions, like the one that Wayne did with the DIY or Die Championship, is literally like a nightmare. Like you create a mixing nightmare because having to mix up, you know, 30 people's recipes, that's a lot of work. And then to have flavors, when you let people use any kind of flavor and stuff, it can get crazy. So
yeah, head to head is one thing. I mean,
right.
If you're just doing 2 recipes, that's not a big deal. It's not weeks on end doing the same kind of thing. That's kind of why I went with, you know, a challenge that people are just posting recipes. Not that anybody has to mix it. Not that your recipes are being judged. Just post a recipe that's inspired.
Right.
And that gives somebody, you know, everybody's got something to do, and it's fun. And I'm giving away prizes.
I like it.
Every 4 to 6 weeks. Do a random drawing. Everybody gets their name in if they put a recipe in and other various conditions. So, I mean, that's an easy way to do something that's for the community and get it out there without having to test everybody's recipes.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have time to do that kind of contest.
Right, and that's the thing is that, you know, success in this industry means you end up being almost too busy to manage all the fun kind of free activities. You know, that's probably why you see Wayne sort of scaling away from contests. And, you know, for us, it's, you know, as we have business and projects go on, it does have to take priority. And I was reading Tim Ferriss's new book, and one of the little excerpts was talking about, are you a cook or a chef? So are you creating recipes that other people cook, and then, or are you mixing recipes that other people create? And there's really those two kind of groups across the board in DIY mixing, you know, where we're kind of chefs. And I remember when Scott wanted to call us chefs for the mixer collection, I was like, I don't know about that. Like, we're not chefs. But
well, it feels kind of pretentious to call ourselves.
It does. It does. But, you know, it's funny because I was reading that today and I was like, well, you know what? We kind of are chefs in that we're the recipe creators. Like, we develop the recipes.
It's somewhere between a perfumer and a chef, because you have to be good with both sense of smell and sense of taste. And you're putting together molecules like a perfumer, but we're trying to get it to taste like food, like a chef.
Right.
So we're a whole new classification of aroma use.
Yeah, we are. And I read the Perfumer and Fragrance magazine every month. And if you guys haven't checked it out, it's free. You can sign up for it, and then you can see how much you don't know about flavoring and molecules when it comes to, you know, fragrance. And, you know, the traditional path to even become a flavorist is 7 years under as an apprentice to a already certified flavorist. So you
after like 8 years of college too.
After 8 years of college, and those guys are going to be, you know, you're going to know what every chemical inside the flavors are, things like that. You know, it's funny because I see the like Philip Morris is looking for flavorists and things like that. Like they call them flavor science type of things, but a lot of these guys don't necessarily understand the practical side of it. Like we're kind of street mixers in that we're self-taught, you know, we do things, you know, just our own way, and we kind of learn as we go. Like, oh, this works, not realizing like the chemical composition and things, you know. And you would be probably the most advanced of the team, I think, that just understands a little more into
it's only because I've read a whole bunch of books.
Right. Right, like
you just have to have the time to read like 30 different flavoring books and do some mild chemistry books, and you have to actually sit there and read a bunch of crap that you're only going to half apply to what we're doing.
Right, like in school, you were the one that knew the answer. Or like concrete chemist, me and Dave are just fucking around in the back, probably.
Yeah, I'm just getting high in the men's room, man.
Yeah.
I would be the one that the teacher would make go help you guys.
Yeah, that's right. That sounds right. Well, we got a big
happened
release.
To me a lot in school.
Yeah. we got a big release coming to Chefs, and it's close. We're getting close to March 1st, so I think that's dropping soon.
Yay.
Yeah, and that'll be exciting. That's 28 one-shots. So UK is getting some good stuff. And really good recipes across the board. When you look at the mixes and things like that, like you guys don't get to see them, and they're not going to be public, but being behind the scenes and seeing them, they're solid up and down. I feel like everybody put in really good recipes. So if you're in the market for some one-shots, Chefs is going to be dropping 28 of them. That's in addition to our 11 that we already have on there. So it really puts us really second to Chefs. Like it'll be Chefs, and then it'll be e-juice makers in terms of products available. So that's a pretty cool thing. So anyway, if you guys are in the US, definitely look at Chefs if you're already like bored with, you know, because like I'll shop Bull City and e-cig Express, and I'll be like, all right, I got these flavors. And then when I first found Chefs, I was like, oh, there's all kinds of fun stuff I've never heard of. You know, brands you've never tried before. You know, we're going through Decadent Vapors now, and that's been one of my like favorite, just like flavor monks for gens. I purchased a couple probably like a year and a half ago, and I like hung on to them. Like I have a rose one that's like a perfect rose without the muskiness, and I'll add it with fruits and stuff. So like I kind of cherish those Decadent Vapor ones, and they sent us some to try, and so we're all kind of going through those too. Yeah, next level, like Kevin said. You know, it's just, but it's something most guys in the U.S. never even have heard of Decadent Vapors if it wasn't for concrete, you know, doing maybe a flavor note or something.
Or like Runt Dastardly with their Glass-Steag mix, which was pretty big for mixing nerds too, with that DV absinthe.
So you got to kind of be a little deeper. Yes, Cesare, check it out. They have one called Orangella, which is kind of like, I don't think it's called Orangella. It's called, is it Orangella?
Yeah, Orangella. Yeah. Orangella is good. It's a really solid single flavor orange.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Orangeina bottle drinks that come in like, they look like an orange. They're mega expensive, but it has kind of a little bit of that rind note to it. It's good because like the oranges, there's all kinds of spectrum on the oranges where you can get, you know, different types of flavor out of them.
Yeah, and Decadent Vapors, for me at least, it's a really interesting flavor house to work with when I kind of want to turn my brain off. Not that their mixes aren't engaging, I just haven't ever really found much to do with them outside of use them as a primary flavor with just some little accents. But it's generally really solid stuff.
Yeah, and you end up like, so when you're releasing recipes, you got to think about availability. And I see it a lot where people don't do that, where they'll just release things that they have and they're not thinking about, you know, the common availability. Like if it's only at one flavor house and the people that you're hoping are going to mix your recipe, like if, like it's like using jungle flavors. Like jungle flavors is good, but if someone's only able to order from Nicotine River or Bull City or Wizard Labs, then you know you kind of set yourself up to not be as available. So like when I release a recipe, I like to think, you know, does Chefs have it? Does e-cig Express have it? Does Nicotine River have it? Does Bull City have it? Does Wizard Labs have it? Okay, everybody can mix it. And the other thing is the popularity, where there's a lot of recipes people don't have, right? So if you're releasing like, so when you release a recipe, you should think, okay, I'm using this flavor, but also would I tell a person to buy this flavor? Because there's people out there that are going to go and buy, like maybe they don't, maybe they only have strawberry cream stuff, and now you've listed 5 strange things. Is it worth like 30 or 40 bucks of their money? So it's something to think about. Not, I don't know if everybody thinks about it when they put out recipes, but there's an endorsement that comes with you releasing it and knowing like, okay, not only am I releasing a recipe, but I'm telling them they should buy all these flavors. And then, you know, they're going to be pretty pissed off if they spend 35 bucks and it's no good. So it's just something to think about when you're putting out recipes. You know, it's, if you want recipes to get actually mixed, right? Like there's a whole critique. If you go into all the flavors, you hit the eye and you look at actual mixes versus views, right? You can hype the hell out of your recipe and a lot of people will look at it, but you really should be going for mixes, like actual mixes, people actually trying your stuff, liking it. You know, and if you're doing that, you want to be thinking about, are these popular flavors? Are they likely to have them? You know, are they too hard to get? It's like if I released a gin with Flavor Monks, I would know that's not going to get mixed except by Apex, Concrete, and people in England because they might have it still. You know, because it's not available at the flavor houses anymore. Just stuff to think about.
There isn't anything wrong with releasing recipes specifically for different locations. I mean, if you're, you know, even if you're over here in the US and you want to release something that you know UK vapors are going to vape, you know, drop the recipe in UK vaping mixing groups. So maybe you wouldn't put it in, you know, a more American centric group, but you'd put it in, you know, DIY e-liquid on Facebook, or you'd post it on Reddit, where there's people everywhere that, you know, somebody's going to mix it and like it.
Yeah. You know, I find that where there's people, but I mean, if you're having trouble getting your recipes mixed or you're having trouble getting seen, you know, that could be contributing to it as a mixer, is thinking about the accessibility, the ease of use, stuff like that.
Like if you release something full TP, like if you're just trying to get somebody to mix your stuff, if you release a full TPA recipe, you've got a much better chance of something that people have to actually source ingredients for.
Right. Most mixed is God Milk, which is all TPA. You know, so Colton did that. He went all TPA, and then he's got the most mixes on the recipe. Even, you know, is it the best recipe? I don't know. But is it mixable? Yes. So that's something worth thinking about. I mean, even somebody in like, you know, crazy countries probably has access to, you know, TPA. Yeah, Decadent Vapors is a UK company, and they've been around since we started buying stuff from chefs. So a year, 2 years. And then the reason I even bought some was because I had messaged Lewis because I was so confused by all these brands on chefs, and I was like, what's good of all these strange like Saluba Rome and Sasami, and he mentioned that Decadent Vapors is worth trying out. So that's how I got into that. And then a couple picked up a lot of the same ones I did without us like discussing it. And you know, we both like he fell in love with the dandelion burdock, which is like tastes kind of like spices of root beer. So if you without like the syrupy note. And he's a crazy root beer fan, so that's right up his alley. And then got Concrete vaping it. I think Apex loves it, and then Jen started vaping it. So
yeah, I see. To me, it's more like dandelion and burdock tea, or there's a candies. It has more of that kind of aroma to me than root beer.
Yeah, there's a dandelion and burdock soda. I've only had one of the American brands that does it, but it's fairly close to that, like very specific dandelion and burdock kind of thing. It's also sweet, you know. It isn't like just the spicy part of root beer. It's a lot more fleshed out, a lot more sweet.
Yeah, I guess it's, you know, you can only know flavoring and sense, you know, based on your experience. So for like me, I've never had that tea, you know, so when I smell it, I'm like, oh, this is close to root beer to me. So, but if you've had that, then you kind of get that register in your brain where you're like, oh, okay, this is that flavor, you know. And when I'm like flavor testing stuff, a lot of times, you know, off the smell test, I'll either know exactly what it is, or I'll be like, I don't know what it is. So it's like that's kind of the first question is like, have I experienced this in my life, and when, and what was it? And even if the name is nothing like what the flavor is, it helps you be like, oh, okay, this is, you know, like sweet strawberries, like the tangy part of a strawberry, you know, and ripe is the overly, you know, ripe part of a strawberry. So but even if you didn't see the label and you were just smelling it, you'd have that kind of brain connection. So that helps when you guys are getting your flavors, is to try to smell them and just see, what does this remind me of? And then when you're building a recipe, it's a lot easier than going off just your label names, you know, because things aren't always like, you know, dark bean doesn't smell like coffee to me, you know. So, and tiramisu doesn't smell like tiramisu to me for flavor art. So it's like tiramisu's more coffee, and dark bean's kind of like burnt coffee, gas station coffee. Yeah, we're going to do a little shilling. We have Wizard Labs one shots. Most of the team has e-cig Express one shots. We have Bull City recipe packs still. So if you're looking to mix that stuff up, and definitely stuff at chefs. They're pretty much in most of the shops.
So you ask us, Adam, but what have you been working on?
I have I've been making a bunch of different recipes. The favorite thing that I've come up lately started as like a Boba's Bounty clone, and then it transitioned into, like, I was like, all right, there's plum, there's graham cracker, there's honey, there's like black cigar tobacco, but then I would just sort of took me down the road of like, well, what would it be like with just the honey graham cracker notes, and would that be good? So that's what I kind of been working on and vaping the most of, is like a blend of graham crackers and Capella honey, which I like that honey. It reminds me of the old like honey blunts, you know, that would come wrapped in like a straw back in the day in the 90s. It's not honey like a fresh honey, but it's definitely that same fake honey. So that's what I've been vaping on lately, is like graham cracker honey, and it's good. It does the trick.
I've been frantically trying to finish up an all Flavora recipe to try to get it in by the end of the month. Adapting DJ Mills's soursop pudding recipe, where he used a little bit of hops to set off soursop. I've been trying to stick an apple in there and make it all Flavora. So that's still ongoing. I had to switch it out for apple cider and apple pop, but it got a little bit too boozy, so I'm probably just going to fill in it with normal apples. So y'all can be on the lookout for that, hopefully by the end of the month.
Do they have a good red apple? Do they have a red apple?
Yeah, the red apple's okay. It seems a little dry to me, but it does the like red part of an apple fairly well.
It's also a little mealy, I think. It's got a bit of a texture to it. Kind of like what pear brings to apple usually.
And then what are other good red apples? Two apples?
Yeah, I mean, if you want like trashy, Capella's double apple does a red apple pretty well.
And is it more like...
It's a little bit candied. It reminds me a lot of the double apple flavor you'd find in like shisha tobacco. Like okay. It's that kind of like borderline candy red apple, but you see a lot of it used. It's good stuff.
There's something interesting with so when they make orange juice, they have like a orange juice flavoring that they add across the board to most of like the Tropicanas and just all that junk orange juice that they sell. You know, there's good orange juice. When you have good orange juice, it tastes like totally different than that Tropicana flavor. And that's because so Florida is like one of the big producers of orange crops, and you get such variance on an orange juice that they'll add orange flavoring but it's off the books, so it's not something they publicize, it's not something they're telling you about, but every batch of Tropicana and orange juice like that is getting a few drops of this consistent orange juice flavor. That's why every Tropicana orange juice, or I think it's like Simply Pure, maybe, I don't know what the flavor is, but every one of these different orange juice brands that's commercial level is getting a consistent orange flavoring. And then people drink it and they're like, oh, that's orange juice. But when you get like fresh orange juice, it's completely different, a lot more vibrant and depth to it. I always thought that was interesting, how it's like even the stuff you don't know is flavored is flavored.
Yeah, that like natural orange flavor that's just like the perfume that they add to keep everything consistent. I think a lot of like fruit-based products that have to be consistent month to month all use those kind of flavors pretty heavily.
Yeah, and then there's a documentary, and it's on it. Maybe the word botany is in it, and it focuses on 4 different things, and one of them's apples, and then one of them's marijuana, and then it's like 2 other fruits or something, and it's 4 parts. But the apple part, they talk about how in each apple, every seed that's in an apple will produce a different flavor of apple. So they have to cross splice on the original apple tree in order to keep growing the apple flavors. And then when you go to, you know, like a grocery store and you have like 5 apples or whatever, you know, the seeds that are in that apple will produce a different flavor apple than the one that you're eating, which is crazy.
Well, that's the big thing about like consistency in terms of industrial agriculture. They value a consistent product over anything like an absolute taste or anything. Like they want every single apple you pick up to taste exactly like the last apple you picked up. And they're not necessarily interested in chasing like heritage breeds, which like vary pretty wildly from, you know, season to season and stuff like that. It's just all about that. Like, this is what an apple tastes like. It will always taste like this.
Yeah. Like if you've had an heirloom tomato compared to like the red fertilizer chemically tasting tomatoes from the store, huge difference, you know. And I haven't really delved too much into, you know, the heirloom products, but even if you look up, there's like an old picture of a, if you search like I don't know what it would, how you'd find it, but it was like what a watermelon used to look like, and it used to just have like little circles inside where the red flesh would be, but they used to be like primarily almost like on a little gun, like a 6-shooter, and where the bullets would be was where it was like red watermelon, and then the rest of it was rind. So like the majority of watermelon, you know, because it is like an old portrait from like 1700s or something, and it's got a picture of the watermelon painted, and it looks nothing like a watermelon we know today. Like, so you can see how the breeding across time has really changed that.
Well, there used to be like good and bad years for like specific crops and stuff like that. And that's the absolute antithesis of commercial agriculture at this point. Like it's going to the store and buying a bottle of Yellowtail Chardonnay. It's always supposed to taste exactly the same. Whereas with like French wine and stuff, like they have like good years for vineyards, bad years and stuff. Everybody else is just after like that consistent product.
Yeah. And then even there's a whole thing where the fruits that you get are fruits that can make it to your grocery store and not rot in time for you to buy them, instead of the best fruits in the world. So if you ever travel places, you know, try the different fruits of the area, because chances are they've never made it to where you live. So that's kind of another cool thing is, you know, when you travel, maybe you're not thinking I'm going to go eat fruits from a fruit market, but it's something worth doing because there's a lot of native fruits that sugar content keeps them from being brought over here. Like the sour sop, like you said, you know, a lot of people don't know what that is. You know, I think down in Latin America, they have it more. You know, with like the cherry moya, the sour sop. What do they call it? There's an apple name for it too.
Custard apple.
Custard apple, yeah. And it tastes like a pina colada. It's crazy thing. And the seeds are poisonous. Like and it looks like a grenade. Like, that's a cool fruit right there. I remember the first time I saw it, I was at a farmer's market in Santa Monica. And then, you know, there's these big, huge tents people have. And then there's just like a guy with a tiny ass like TV table with like 6 of these cherimoyas on it. And I was like, what are these things? You know, he's like, oh, it's cherry moya. You want to try it? And I tried it. I was like, this is insane. Like, never had anything like it. Like, it tastes like a pina colada fruit. So it's something to think about when you guys are traveling the world on your one-shot money.
Wait, we're supposed to be making that much money? I've done something terribly wrong.
I know,
really?
we all have, yeah. One day we're gonna, you know, that's the thing too. You guys all with the aspirations of being big one-shot mixers, like it'll pay a car payment maybe, not a house payment.
No, it's not even a basic Honda Civic. It's like a kid's toy Vespa.
Yeah. No, but where the money is like emerging markets. There's, you know, America's kind of tapped out, you know, and then Canada's like baby America. But then there's, you know, hundreds of countries that they're going to go through the same vape revolution that we saw here, where it's, You know, have you noticed like nowadays you don't get looked at as crazy walking around vaping? Where like 2 or 3 years ago, people were like, "What the fuck?" and they just stare at you. You know, nowadays there'll be like a car in front of me, and they're hitting their vape. You know, like that's all brand new compared to, you know, where we were kind of the outliers, and people be like, "What's that thing?" "Oh, it's a vape." Like they just had never heard of it. You know, now it's become, you know, granny friendly, as our stats show. Shout out to K Miller.
We had a question in the chat about Inawera reformulating. There was a list somewhere of all the stuff that Inawera said they were going to reformulate. The only stuff that I really work with from Inawera anymore, it was their lemon and their lime, and then their plum. Those have all changed. The lemon and lime aren't bad now. They're just not nearly as good as they were. And I know that there was some other stuff on that list. I've just basically stopped using Inawera for anything that I actually need to have like a solid recipe in place because, I mean, quite frankly, I don't really trust them.
They're right on the edge of, they're not Flavor West, but they're close. They're kind of in that sketchy realm of like, did you just pour sugar, or like did you actually put, you know, Kool-Aid in the Kool-Aid flavor? Like, what's going on here?
And Cheyendo brings up white grapefruit and gold ducat. Yeah, they did mess around with some of their tobaccos too.
It was all, I think it was all TPD related, where they had to dial everything in.
Yeah, I think they had some suppliers or something that wouldn't comply. I thought that was the official story, but I don't know. It's all kind of sketchy.
It's more likely people that buy from them are like, "What the fuck? I can't use this in my e-juice now because of the TPD. You need to make a different version if you want us to keep buying gallons for whatever flavor." Because the UK's got a strong.
The story was the manufacturer that they were getting the flavorings compounded with wouldn't release the actual molecular structures, so they couldn't comply with the TPD with the people that were buying from them. So they had to switch manufacturers or compounders.
So help me God, if they ruin Inawera custard or creme brulee, I'm flying to Poland.
Yeah.
I think those are safe because they were newer. They came out after the announcement for the reformulation.
Remember when I first got Inawera, I was like, "What the fuck are these flavors?" Because like even the fruit smelled like perfume. You know, it's just such a different experience on their flavors, and realizing like they're one of the ones that don't care what it smells like, just kind of how it tastes. You know, where things like you know, Capella probably first, and like Perfume Apprentice, they kind of created so it smells good, smells right, and then tastes right too. But some of those flavors, like, there's no way you'd think they'd be good just by smelling them. And then when you mix them up, they taste great. So
Shindo said, part of me hopes they reformulate Inawera Shisha Strawberry just to see the world burn. I'm totally on board with that. Let's ruin some other flavors that people love because I want people to feel my lime-based pain.
Suffer with him. He needs a team of suffering around him.
I'm taking all of you fuckers down with me.
Yeah, but you think about it, like Wayne based a couple recipes on that milk chocolate, which just instantly ruined those products. So you've gone through the trouble to make them, you've gone through the trouble to hype them and pitch them and get them into the stores, you know, the shops, whether it be Chefs or e-cig Express. You know, they've taken thousands of dollars to make the bottles and mix everything up, and then dead recipe. You know, so that's tough. So that's one of the reasons why you kind of definitely think a little deeper if you're doing one shots, like Shindo and some of the team. It's like, is this flavor going to last? Yeah, because then it puts you in a weird spot when it doesn't work out.
Is it in fact too good to be true? You know, are they going to go ahead and ruin it later?
Right, like butterbeer. I'm not building anything around butterbeer because
such a weird flavor, man. Like, it's not bad either. It's just weird.
I think it's pure diacetyl with caramel color, like diacetyl. It just tastes wrong. Like there's just like something is wrong with this flavor, you know.
But it's wrong in a good way. I don't know.
Right.
Like I still think that some flavoring companies should just like get some balls and release a straight diacetyl compound so you can just add it in at your own discretion and just develop your own level of popcorn lung.
Yeah, Chachi Vapes asked how my birthday was. It was great. My girlfriend surprised me with my mom, and then my one of my best friends at Outback Steakhouse, which worked awesome because I haven't been to Outback in years, and it was really good. So it was, and I just thought it'd be her and her son. My kids were at their mom's, so it was going to be like three of us, and then my mom showed up, and my buddy showed up, and I was like, "Oh, clever girl! Like you worked hard on this." So yeah, it was a real nice birthday.
Did you have a blooming onion? Because every time you go to the Outback, you have to have a blooming onion.
I didn't because like all I could remember from like a decade ago was like overeating those and then being like sick, and I was like, I'm gonna not do that.
I tried to figure out how to make a blooming onion at home. Like I read like all the internet stuff, and it never worked out. And I think I gained about 10 pounds in the process. It was not good.
It was like a Pinterest fail.
Yeah. Dude, like that's the thing about those Pinterest recipes and stuff. Like everybody makes it look so easy, and then like I'm over there doing it, and it just turns out to be like one big like ball of caked dough on one side, and it didn't bloom right, and I'm just sitting there still shoveling in my mouth because it's a fried onion. How bad can it be?
Yeah, that definitely sounds right. I remember I was a kid. I was obsessed with these. They're basically like the '90s version of you know, the Pinterest how to make a blooming onion. They're like 2 books, and they would tell you how to make like a Taco Bell taco or Red Lobster biscuit and stuff. And I used to just obsess about those things. Like, so like I had the secrets, you know, and some guys taking his time and tried to hack these recipes. The secret to like a Red Lobster biscuit is as much butter as you could reasonably think to put on it, and then put more. Like the guys that cook those literally like paint them before they go in with butter, paint them when they come out, and then paint them again before they bring them to you. So you're basically eating just like 2 tablespoons of butter soaked into a biscuit with cheddar cheese in it.
Well, that's always a trick with like restaurant food and stuff. Like if you want to know why your steak isn't good, try cooking it in butter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Anthony Bourdain secrets of the restaurant. There's a chapter in Bourdain's book where he's like, why your food sucks, which was actually his original. He had written this story and was like a junky, shitty chef at the time, and sent it in and was like, oh, this will never work. And then got a call back, got published, and then he was famous the next day. And that's in his book. But it basically says the reason why your food sucks is because you don't put enough butter in it. Because they'll start every meal with butter and finish it with butter. Speaking of butter, I picked up butter. I don't know what to do with it, but Christopher Coppell has said butter so much, Capella butter to me so much that I bought it. So I have it.
I'm still golden butter, vomit of flavors.
Yeah, I'm still like ambivalent on butter because you have the Capella stuff, which I don't like. It tastes like waxy and kind of vomity. And then you have TPA's butter, which I'm pretty sure is just like the same straight acetyl propanol thing going on with their VBIC. So it just tastes like black pepper to me.
Yeah, I can't do the black pepper. It's like one of the. I used to like pour out bottles of the e-juice I'd buy if they had that black pepper note, either from the nicotine or vanilla bean ice cream or whatever fucking weirdness they used. I just couldn't handle that.
I actually have a 4-ounce bottle of TFA butter sitting right here, and it smells like a dirty puddle mixed with pepper.
That's an ID10 flavor review right there. If anybody does video editing and wants to just rip all ID10T's rants into like a promo video, that would be great. Just
it's like somebody set a dog on fire and rolled it down a hill full of Kentucky bluegrass.
You know, the boot that a military guy would walk in for an hour, and then his sock, that's what cheese smells like.
He's got a very vivid flavor memory, like
for bad flavors though. He only gets his awards for the awful things. Like he remembers the awful parts of flavoring.
Well, and then if he likes it, he's just like, yeah, it's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right, exactly. But when he hates it, he lets you know. Oh man.
And that's my official ID10T impersonation. So you're welcome for that.
Yeah, everybody. I did one too. So 2 for the price of 1.
He threatened to show up in the chat. I don't see him, so I figure it's safe to make fun of him.
Thank you, Chachi Vapes, for picking up a bottle of Sugar Cookie Fluff. That is my best-selling U.S. e-liquid. And not e-liquid, whatever the fuck it is. Flavoring concentrate. 1 shot. Not intended for vaping.
It's the best yogurt flavor on the market.
What is the... I think it's like 0.005 or something is what they do for flavored water. Like, what are the measurements you would go for, Jennifer, on like food-related items? If you're trying to get the flavoring, is it just 1 drop of something, or
it's usually between 1 and 5 drops in 8 ounces of water.
Okay. So if you guys
even then, they kind of taste funky. So.
Concrete, do you ever do that with like just pure Shasta? Like the...
I used to, and it turns out I just kind of like the break from flavor of unflavored water now.
So you're using it as like a palate cleanser, basically.
Yeah, like I used to, like I tried to hack my testing process so many ways and get like all efficient with it so I could test multiple things in a day, and I haven't found anything that works better than just spending time with a flavor.
This is Butterbeer Shasta Club Soda. This is Sprinkles.
Like, I kind of just like the break now. It's like, oh, thank you. This doesn't taste like anything. This is amazing.
Yeah, I know some people like do, what is it, like just pure VG, PG, no nicotine, just vape that. I've never done that.
I mean, you can do that. A little bit of menthol really helps with that, though. Like, if you're going to vape unflavored, that's usually my suggestion. Everybody's like, oh, I'm just going to switch over to vaping unflavored. And it's like, just add a little bit of menthol. It makes the entire process so much less dispiriting. Yeah,
I've been working in a menthol, probably. But not really for palate cleanser. I just like it after. It's that lovage peppermint cool menthol blend. And it's a good way to hide a bunch of nicotine in it. So if you want like a heavy, strong nicotine menthol blend, that's the way to go. But you guys are all successful because you quit smoking. And that's what really, we don't talk about it too much, but it's fucking good job. You're all going to live a good decade longer probably, except for Concrete. But that's not because of cigarettes.
Yeah, that's because my blood type is Crisco, so don't worry about it.
On the 70th Bloomin' Onion, he regretted his decision.
I figure quitting smoking gives me another 3 good years. I'm not too worried about it.
3, yeah.
Although I did have to end up buying a carton of cigarettes for a friend recently, and yeah, that was a weird experience, man. Walking in and not knowing what I was looking for. Like, they're not helpful at cigarette shops. I'm just going to say, you can walk into a vape shop and say, hey, look, I'm looking for cookies dipped in frosting. What do you have like that? You start asking questions about what color is what kind of cigarette, and all of a sudden they get very impatient with you. So stick to vaping.
Yeah. So you bought a carton of cigarettes and you didn't smoke any. So congratulations.
No, I didn't. I'm standing out there with my little vape with my wood spice tobacco. Everybody else is just lighting up. And the entire time I was just, kind of like taken aback because I wouldn't imagine I would have been in that position a couple of years ago. So that's
cool.
Cool.
Yeah. One of my buddies happened to be at the same diner for breakfast the other day. So he joined me and we talked and caught up. And, he's still smoking. I'm not smoking. And it's just could easily have been still smoking, So vaping is great. Because it's one of those things that's like so habitual that you're not really processing the harm, and then you switch to vaping, and vaping is habitual where it's just a habit. And then when you look back, you're like, well, a year, 2 years, how many cigarettes and what was the harm, that I would have done. So it's a good thing. I appreciate, that we can still do this and we still can buy a device and still make our own e-juice and still get nicotine. Those are all good things. So, but congratulations to everyone that's made it this far and you're not smoking. So that's cool. Took me a while. Like I was used to buying my girlfriend cigarettes. And I'd be like, should I buy a pack of cigarettes? And then I'm like, she doesn't smoke anymore. So it's really cool feeling to be like, oh yeah, it's great. Put the habits in it. Jesus, $150 for a carton. That's insane. Yeah, you could totally, like, the money is a lot. And people bitch about the price on DIY stuff, but nah. Unless you're just like a flavor collector, like Apex or like Lorenzo, the Zambini. I think that's his name. If you're a flavor collector like that, then yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. But if you're just, get your flavors you like. Yeah, we were talking shit about you, Dave. You missed it.
It's really not even that expensive if you consider. I know I was smoking a pack to a pack and a half a day. So every 10 days I'd be buying a carton. After 20 weeks, that's, almost $2,000 I could spend in flavors.
Yeah.
It is still cheaper because I'm not spending $2,000 every 20 weeks on flavors.
Exactly. And then, if you get a one shot or something going, and, that's definitely what the one shot is done for, myself and probably most people on the team is that you don't, you may not make a ton of money, but you definitely don't spend any money. It's usually getting flavors sent to you and stuff like that. Same way like Rip Trippers has like 700 mods. He did a tour one time at his like supply room, and he's got like 15 smoke aliens, and because I don't know why they send him so many, I guess for giveaways. So they just, and then like indoor smokers guy will do like boxes I got today, and it's just fucking like 60 things a day. It's crazy, but we get flavors. I like that though. So, well, happy last day of February for MixLife. We will be marching into March with 28 one-shots from chefs. So if you feel like supporting us, you want to pick up a flavor, is a good one because you can really support a bunch of mixers that haven't really had opportunities, like Chris DVR. Would be Apex's second one shot. Fear for the first time. You can get his one shots, you know. So definitely some cool stuff there. Steam Room's gonna have some one shots. ID10T. Jennifer's gonna have some cool ones. Concrete phoned his in.
Yeah, but I phone everything in. I stopped caring as soon as I got that. As soon as I got that award, everything from here is just me coasting.
Yeah, you wear a red robe around the house, and your girlfriend doesn't seem to understand. You're like, I'm Mixer of the Year, babe. I'm not doing dishes today.
And we do also have our one shots at Wizard Labs.
Wizard Labs.
Under the EJM one shots.
Yeah, go pick a sampler pack.
Press. And you've got some one shots, and Copel's got some one shots, and Emily's got a one shot. E-cig Express has probably what? 6 of us now?
6 or 7, yeah. So there's some one shots there. So wherever you shop at, you can kind of get our stuff. That's cool. Well, everybody have a good Sunday. We will be here, same bat time, same bat channel next week. And we'll talk to you all then.
Bye.
Bye.